Trump's golfing has cost us approximately $26 million. And the last time I checked, we're not getting anything in return for that.
That's not true. That's not true, Jazz. I gotta call it like it is. That's not true. He got a trophy from the last one. He got a little trophy of himself. They couldn't fit his whole frame on there, so it's just his legs. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. I'm Reese Waters, and this is Street Politics. Now, in light of the recent videos that we've done about MAGA coming for Jasmine Crockett's Hot Wheels comment, MAGA coming for Jasmine Crockett and the reporter, MAGA coming for Jasmine Crockett in the Tesla takedown, MAGA coming for Jasmine Crockett, calling her ghetto or too educated, whatever the case may be. You name it, they have tried it. And believe me, they have tried it. There was a question that I've seen debated in the comments about whether or not Jasmine Crockett was going to fall back a little bit, whether she might be a little bit more cautious in her approach.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
What y'all think?
Usually when we talk about racism in the Republican Party, it has to do with things like deleting the history of Jackie Robinson, deleting the history of Harriet Tubman, or deciding that the Tuskegee Airmen should be deleted, or maybe just defunding the African American Museum. The list kind of goes on and on and on, but I am not here to talk about why they are racist. I am here to talk about some other things.
Now, I'm not here to talk about those things either today, but I will. Best believe all of that is coming. Stay tuned.
As it relates to immigration. So let's get to that. You know, it's interesting because we got all these theories. I don't know why we put up with getting data and facts if we just gonna sit here and talk about how we feel. So, you know, maybe we can inject some facts into these feelings. I'm not really sure.
There's a whole lot of that last year. There's a whole lot of that. Remember the immigrant crime wave? Remember the migrant crime wave? Cause I do. Yeah, despite the facts. And what did they do when they got into office? They got rid of the facts. They got rid of the facts. When the facts don't match their feelings, they lie about it. And then when they have control over the facts, they eliminate the facts. That is a fact. Wish I had a better word to say there.
Look, I am not anti-immigrant. I love people. Jesus tells me to love all people, but we can't just take in all of the world's problems. We have to slow the immigration process because we have people that are suffering here. We have people that need to be taken care of here. Look, if my biggest flaw is that I am overly concerned about Americans, then so be it. You know, but we have to spend American dollars to help American people. We can't be focusing on them. We have to focus on our own people that really need. Oh my God, bro, what do you want? What is it now, bro? Every day is something else with you. What you want now? Basic health care? Mental health services? Grants? Handout after handout. All you do is whine. Help me, it's cold. Help me, I was born with a disability. But you were just saying. Sit your dumb ass up. Sit your ass up. What's this, bro? What's this in your bootstraps?
Yeah, bro, you got it, bro.
You heard of them? Bootstraps.
Yo,
get a bootstrap. Bootstrap. Nah, bro, because I'm tired of you, bro. No, bootstrap. Oh, lazy, bro. Bootstrap.
Yep, you got it,
bro.
Bootstrap.
You got it. Bootstrap.
But as somebody who has actually practiced criminal defense, I don't know if there's anybody else in here who has, I can tell you that I have handled thousands of cases, not hundreds of cases, thousands on the state level in Texas, Arkansas, and the federal level. And I can tell you that, you know what? If I had to look at the vast majority of the cases that I was representing criminal defendants on, the vast majority of them just didn't happen to be immigrants. These are just the facts of my experience, and maybe the immigrants went to somebody else. I don't know, but I can tell you in my actual experience, in real life, in reality, and not in this fallacy world that y'all are making up where you hate on everybody. So my Republican colleagues are here using today to continue pushing this false narrative of sanctuary cities harboring criminals. Yet right here in DC, we have a 34-count felon being harbored in the White House. The hypocrisy coming from your side of the aisle over concerns regarding lawlessness is outrageous.
Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? That was a fact. That was a fact, what she just said. And I don't know this for a fact, but she should go to the J6ers somewhere in this conversation. Y'all know. Y'all know.
Right now, House Republicans are conducting town halls with constituents lying about our legal system. That, quote, there is no due process if you come here illegally because you violated the law. That immigrants, quote, are not entitled to due process. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that.
Hey, Victoria Sparks. Hey, get Sparks. What? Why she got a babushka on? Hey, take that. Tell her we're talking about her right now.
We all want to live in a country where we respect the law. So I'm a bit surprised that Republicans aren't up in arms with Trump detaining and deporting U.S. citizens and people who are lawfully present here in the United States. What Trump and ICE are doing is a disgrace, and it's all being done without respect for our laws. For example, Mr. Neri Alvarado, a Dallas-based baker, was arrested and deported to El Salvador prison for having an autism awareness tattoo in honor of his 15-year-old autistic brother. This was done despite never having been to El Salvador, despite having no gang affiliation, and despite having no organized crime connection. He was deported because ICE agents have been detaining, quote, all Venezuelans with tattoos. And to be clear, this type of racial profiling isn't just a one-off. In fact, the ACLU, using DHS's own data, mind you, found that at least 65% of the states and local agencies voluntarily working with ICE have records of racial profiling and civil rights violations.
And she didn't even mention that ICE agent who was found to be a racist right-wing troll on social media. So there's that. Here's a question for you guys, because I like to make this interactive. Which do you think came first? Are the racist agencies the ones that are prone to discrimination and racial profiling, the ones that are more likely to volunteer for ICE, or is this just an example of a larger problem, and it would be this number no matter who volunteered? Interesting thought experiment there. And by the way, because this is going to be a video at some point about just how problematic this is, we understood. I said last year before inauguration, there were going to be people that were legal citizens that were caught up in these ICE raids. We understood that to be the case. What we assumed was that there would be recourse. Do you see how problematic it might be when they try and dig their heels in and double down and not bring back people that were deported by mistake? Because these mistakes can keep happening all the time now, can't they? And if you think they're too good-natured or too competent to keep making these mistakes, I got a signal chat you will love.
Mr. Franklin, first of all, and Sheriff, let me thank you for your service too, because I appreciate law enforcement. I just want to put that out there. But Mr. Franklin, Major Franklin, You're a decorated law enforcement officer. Yes or no, in your experience, does racially profiling people make communities safer?
No.
And yes or no, does ICE forcing state or local law enforcement to detain people make communities safer?
No.
You know, it's interesting because we've already, and we're gonna, do Groundhog's Day a couple of times, seemingly here. Actually, let me give you the facts real quick before I go to that. In fact, a report for the American Immigration Council found that cities that didn't enforce ICE detainers have 35.5% lower crime rates, 2.3% lower poverty rates, and relied less on public assistance, including 4.9% less for children under 18.
One more time for those in the back.
And I do want to be clear right now, ICE is trying to work with the IRS because we actually take in billions of dollars because of immigrants in this country, and now they're going to try to get them out.
Now let's just swallow that for a second, okay? The IRS is going to be working with ICE in order to help locate illegal immigrants. But what they told me was the reason why we needed mass deportation was they were a drain on the system. Isn't that what they told me? They said that they were a drain on our resources, and that was the reason why we needed to accelerate mass deportation. Now they want to use the people that were paying taxes and use that against them in the mass deportation fervor.
The IRS will work with Homeland Security to give them information that could lead to more deportations. Under the deal, Immigration and Customs Enforcement will give the IRS the names and the addresses of taxpayers that they believe have violated immigration laws. The IRS will cross-reference all of that information to make sure that it's accurate. The tax agency has the information because many undocumented immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes each and every year in exchange for their data staying confidential in most cases.
Are you getting it now?
And I'm going to tell you that the biggest issue that we have, I really don't think this should be a partisan issue, so I'm going to agree with my Republican colleagues. I think that we all should want to be safe in our communities. The problem that we have is that we have an incompetent administration, that everything that they touch turns to shit. Because what they do is they take a wide sweeping brush and they have decided that the enemy is now going to be immigrants instead of taking a scalpel. That's all we're asking, is to be exact in what you're doing instead of taking a sledgehammer to everything. Thank you, and I will yield.
And I can tell you this, nothing says incompetent administration like playing double dutch with tariffs. How about that?
He needs some milk.
How about playing double dutch with tariffs and playing with the market? You know what I mean? And it would only be worse if you posted for everybody to start buying before you went and pulled back on the tariffs. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that could make that look at all worse. Actually, that's not true. That's not the only thing that can make it worse. What would make it worse if all of this happened while he was over at a golf course? Yeah, doing PGA fantasy camp.
Built a golf course just to miss this green.
It's an easy one to miss.
That swing looks a little broken. Was it made in China?
I don't know. Not too much is made in China.
Yeah.
What would your followers say if you hit this left?
Oh!
There we go.
I don't know about that, guys.
Oh! A little short, kind of like your
almost
second
had
term.
it.
But wait! There's more!
So Marjorie Taylor Greene was just exposed for investing $750,000 into treasury bonds weeks before the stock market crash, and now those bonds are worth a lot more because of the crash. This is according to Sludge, who tracks money in politics, and they found that on Greene's transaction disclosures, she made 3 separate investments worth $750,000 into treasury bonds from mid to late March. Mind you, this is the same time when investment firms, investors, and foreign nations were scrambling to figure out what Donald Trump was planning to do on his big April 2nd Liberation Day. So think about it. As the biggest investors in the world were contemplating what to do with their money, Marjorie Taylor Greene went ahead and made one of the smartest investment decisions in the world and parked her money in assets that would only appreciate if there was a stock market crash, which there was on April 2nd. So ask yourself, is Marjorie Taylor Greene just the best investor in the global economy? Or was Greene acting on information that only she was privy to due to her relationship with Donald Trump? Sounds like we have a Martha Stewart situation on our hands.
And what I want to know, what we want to know, is what did Marjorie Taylor Greene know before that announcement happened? And what stocks did she and her family trade leading up to that announcement?
The Republicans' recklessness and chaotic approach to reducing the size of government has shown us what we've already known. Concepts of a plan don't work. This is the committee's fourth hearing, and still no one from the so-called Department of Government Efficiency has testified before this committee about their plans to break the federal government, because as it turns out, breaking the federal government doesn't just hurt people you don't like. It's not just going to be Democrats who miss out on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, or only Democratic veterans who will miss out on their VA benefits. Their approach will negatively impact all Americans. So it's unfortunate that Republicans have taken a seemingly bipartisan issue and included it as part of their scam to subsidize tax giveaway for billionaires.
Is that true? That's crazy. So it's not just gonna hurt the liberals? And Jim Banks told me that it was woke jobs. You remember when Jim Banks said it was woke jobs? So it's gonna hurt the MAGAs too? And he still said that?
In all these massive job cuts that Doge and President Trump have been doing?
Look, this guy was chasing me and other Republican senators through the hallways. Of course not. My comments were directed at this fellow, who can't even explain what his job was. It was a woke job that wasted taxpayer dollars, and I'm thankful that President Trump eliminated that job to save tax dollars at a time when we have a $37 trillion national debt. That's what we're getting at. Cut wasteful spending, save those tax dollars. No hardworking family in Indiana deserves to pay the salary of someone like that.
I'm genuinely asking, how do you know what job he has or had?
He can't explain it. I've read online what he had to say about his job. It doesn't make sense. He couldn't even explain it on CNN earlier today when you had him on your station exactly what he did do.
And by the way, Jasmine, y'all might want to accelerate trying to get Elon Musk in there to testify, because word on the street, he ain't gonna be there too much longer. Now, you know, I can see the Vivek writing on the wall.
They haven't proposed anything that will improve the efficiency of the government. Instead, they have put the country on a path to a recession and implemented the largest tax increase on Americans in decades through Trump's tariffs. This hearing is their latest attempt to try to convince the American people that dismantling public-facing agencies will somehow improve government efficiency. Let me tell you, it won't. There's nothing efficient about terminating leases for IRS taxpayer assistance centers during tax season, nor dismantling farmers' support offices in rural communities while farmers are trying to survive Trump's tariffs. And just like their trade policy, there isn't any logic or strategy behind the Trump administration's reductions in force or accelerated disposal of federally owned property. It has been discussed that managing federal property has been on GAO's high-risk list for more than 2 decades. Currently, GAO has almost 60 recommendations that the administration could fully implement, but decided to ignore it.
And you know what? Despite all of that, despite everything she just laid out, there were still MAGAs that were out there trying to defend the tariffs.
I know that you may want to believe that Trump is crashing the stock market as well as the economy, but guess what? He's actually resetting it. And although the elites may be panicking, the middle class might as well get prepared because we are about to experience one of the biggest wealth transfers that we have ever seen before. What Donald Trump is doing is something that none of us have ever seen before. And the reason for that is because this man is creating history. America is about to officially be back on the map as one of the wealthiest countries.
And this is the very special part about it, is they were trying to defend the tariffs because it was supposed to be a redistribution of wealth, right? It's supposed to be a redistribution of wealth, and it was supposed to be hurting the elites in order to help the working class. So what does it mean when he falls back? What does it mean when he falls back? You got two choices, MAGAs. You got two choices.
They convince you that by investing in their companies, you are now on the same playing field as them, and now you have stake in the company, but you will never, ever, ever be on the level of the people that own the stock market. So what are you doing? And I could be wrong on this one. This is just my personal experience, but I have never met someone who has made it to billionaire status by investing in the stock market alone.
One of the choices is using logic and reversing the thing that you just said. The second choice you have is openly admitting that you're in a cult. Show call.
I'm gonna veer off for 2 seconds because all I kept hearing was fire. Fire, fire, fire is what I heard. And as I heard fire, it seems like we are talking about an administration that has been hell-bent on firing government workers. They are hell-bent on engaging in fire sales of our government buildings. And while we are at it, they are lighting the Social Security on fire, Medicaid on fire, Medicare on fire, 401ks on fire, Department of Education on fire. And instead, what we need to light on fire are Trump's tariffs. In fact, we could probably go a little bit further and fire this incompetent administration. But if we are going to talk about efficiency and worry about some solar paneled whatevers, let's talk about the fact that as of March 30th, Trump's golfing has cost us approximately $26 million. And the last time I checked, we're not getting anything in return for that.
That's not true. That's not true, Jazz. I gotta call it like it is. That's not true. He got a trophy from the last one. He won the club champion. He got a little trophy of himself. They couldn't fit his whole frame on there, so it's just his legs, you know. But that we got that. And can we also talk for a minute about how hilarious it is to credit this man with being club champion and giving him all these golf accolades when we have footage? I mean, really? I mean, can we address that part? Can we address? You know, it's almost as bad as the NFTs with the abs. You know, it's almost as bad as the NFTs with the abs. You just gonna go and anoint this man a champion golfer when we have footage all over the internet? You know, there's a reason why I don't claim I was an all-American basketball player in college. Because one day I'm going to have to show up to the Y and I'm going to be trash.
Oh, he shanked it. Oh my God, I got that on video.
I will get back on my remarks, but I just wanted to point out that maybe we need to talk about the president and his golfing habits. In fact, he decided that he was going to golf as the markets were tanking. He decided he was going to golf instead of receiving 4 heroes who died serving this country. He has decided that he wanted to play games while the rest of us are really trying to make sure that we can serve the American people.
Can you just imagine what MAGA would have done and said if Joe Biden was playing golf? Can you imagine? Just can you imagine? They characterize that he wasn't being responsive to the storms last year when he was there. They said that Kamala Harris was giving a podcast interview when she was there. They still ran with that narrative. Can you imagine what they would have done if they were playing golf? In fact, now I think about it, they probably should have been. They probably should have been. If that's how they gonna act when we're on the spot, just give them a good apples to apples comparison. Huh? You can't imagine Joe Biden playing golf? He challenged Trump. He said he could beat Trump if Trump carried his own bags. That was the key. That was the key.
I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
Well, I'll tell you this. At least Biden can drive.
I'm not allowed to drive because I haven't driven a car in a long time, and I love to drive cars.
Mr. President!
This sucker's quick.
So, Mr. Maroney, you were quoted in the New York Times article dated March 17th, stating that it is important for officials to have a plan to generate the most savings and that, quote, all of these moving parts point to the need for some deliberate planning. Did the administration consult with GAO regarding their plans to dispose of hundreds of federally owned buildings?
No.
In your testimony, you highlight that one of the core issues associated with managing federal property is the lack of reliable data to support decision-making. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would reducing GSA's workforce by 50% improve data gathering and analysis?
I cannot say they're
That's perfectly fine. We know that we need experts and not idiots, but Mr. Kendall, we will move on. In your written testimony, you state some of the actions of this administration suggest that the administration is not following a strategy designed to save taxpayer money and that the administration seems to ignore agency's mission integrity. Why do you think that?
In the list
you got
of
20 seconds.
In the list of projects, there were a couple score Social Security offices, IRS, taxpayer service offices, which those agencies, those end user agencies wanted, and yet the administration is canceling those leases. So it does imperil mission accomplishment.
Thank you so much. I'll get back.
Credit to Mr. Kendall, because if you ask me a question and say I got 20 seconds, I'll be out there like Lil Jon. What? What?
It's me.
What? Okay. You have your answer. She took it to the hypocrisy of Trump and Doge and given how much money they're blatantly spending. She talked about the racial profiling, how it doesn't make us more safe, the problems with them not returning people, the issues with not adhering to actual facts and information. She covered the gamut. And you know what? She did it her way. Jasmine Crockett on Jasmine Crockett. And you know what? I'm here for it. Thank you for supporting the channel. It is a new season, and with the new season comes new things. And I'm very excited to announce I'll be bringing guests on to my 8 p.m. live starting this very week.
No, never thought leopards would eat my face. Slow it down now.
You guys have sent me in a lot of suggestions for people you would love for me to have a conversation with, people in this particular space, people in the politics space, comedians, commentators, anybody who you would love to see exchange ideas right here on this platform. Go ahead and send in your suggestions. That also applies to my Way of Waters channel as well. I'll be bringing guests over there. So if there's people in the mindfulness space or in the consciousness space you would love to see me talk to, go ahead and send in your suggestions. And don't worry, we'll still have our private chats. Of course, I'm going to open up my lives with a rant like I always do. I'm definitely not a political channel, but I think I'm adjacent. You know what I mean? I think I'm adjacent. I would say, you know, I'm around the corner. I'm not too far. You know, I'm around the corner. Unless, I don't know if they got some redlining going. Maybe they got some redlining going on in politics streets, and now I'm on the other side. And we'll also have the members' lives as well, just when we need to talk offline. So those will be regular. And if you would like to join the channel, there's a link to membership in the description box of all the videos. I want to give a shout out to Obajuru, who's a supporter of the channel, who sent me this as a gift, and I absolutely love it. We're definitely going to find a use for that. And Kit and the Misfit Toys, who sent me this for my Way of Waters channel. You guys are truly, truly the best. And I just hope that I can rise to a level that is deserving of this level of support. Thank you.